No, actually, New Japan pretty much cut out 90% of AXS as of late last year, and the production is done in a very small segment of AXS that does some production for them, and it's almost all entirely New Japan World based, to my understanding. So, myself and JR, we don't have anything to do with AXS anymore. And the wrestling was, there was always a lot of really incredible moments. And Morrow and I started with, Okada's return to New Japan and his first title reign, which I forget when that was, 2013 or something like that. But the premise was and this was, part of TV Asahi, their idea, and I was fully on board with it and agree, and will argue it to anyone. But starting back when they did was a key point that you could start to then introduce the prominent players, the prominent storylines that are important for New Japan to those that had never seen it. And that was what was so important. Get people that don't watch New Japan or don't watch wrestling at all to watch this product and get sucked in and get into these storylines and see this wrestling and be completely blown away by it. And, when we first started out, especially, I would get so many people hitting me up that were from an MMA perspective and go, I don't like wrestling, but I love this. And, that was, they loved hearing it treated like it's a real contest. And I was blown away about the kind of reception it got. And we, Morrow was got voted number one commentator by the Wrestling Observer after that first season, and I came in third. So and then JR came on board, and I got a chance to work with, the legend himself, and a really incredible man. And we continued that same concept of treating this 100% legitimate. And but after a while, the wrestling did start to get a lot more crazy spot oriented, as up until even to how I suppose it must be now. I haven't watched any New Japan since I guess November of last year, the last shows. But it has taken quite a change in terms of the style of wrestling that New Japan is known for. But I have no doubt there are guys out there cranking out some killer matches still. I just haven't seen them.
I just love that the kind of last time you and JR were together, obviously Jay White and Juice Robinson did a spot near you guys, and I really thought that you kind of snapped there and you thought you were about to get back in the ring and kick Jay White's ass. Very kind of like funny that it happened, but very serious because it looked like JR may have gotten injured by that spot.
He did. He busted up his ribs, and there was a concern because he hit his head on the railing that was directly behind us. And the main thing about all of that was that, for one, if you're in the WWE and you're going to go outside, you can't just grab your worker or grab your wrestling partner or whatever, just start smashing up the announcer's table. Or anything like that, or around there, without them knowing about it. The office will tell you whether that's okay or not. There's no way that you're mashing up their stuff or interfering in any way around there where they don't know about it. And with New Japan, even from the first live show we did in Long Beach, the first one at the convention center, guys are whipping themselves into stuff, and JR is just they're like, what the hell, Why do we have to be involved in this? I don't need people flying around and possibly hitting our equipment or mashing into me, and he's kind of coming from a perspective that people will often do that deliberately, try and get get JR to get hot at them and then give them, maybe they can get something to work with, or to make some notoriety for themselves. Hey, look, here I am, and I did, just to create interest or notoriety or whatever, right? And JR is always like, man, that just don't do anything around here. Don't and the thing is, nobody ever comes up to us and asks. And that's the other thing. It's like, well, if you want to start smashing people around into the guard railing in front of us where all of our equipment is, could you just ask? Could you talk to us? Because ultimately we want to make you guys look great. And we're in on it too. And if you just go running around doing whatever you feel like, I mean, for one, we're going to do what we can do, but then when you involve us into it, that's a different perspective altogether. And it's almost as if you're taking advantage of that situation. And I don't actually, I wouldn't. I'm not implying any ill will on Jay White and Juice Robinson's part. I don't believe that at all. But at the time, they were whipping each other around the railings, and the railings were not secured, and they were exploding up in the air practically. And they went through and came over and then looked at us, and I'm like, oh man! And boom, half suplex, 230-pound Juice Robinson right into that railing, and it smashed right into the table. And I ripped the corner of that table right into JR. His chair just completely collapsed underneath him. Boom, and he eats shit, hits his head, smashes up I don't know what. And I look over and I see people are immediately tending to him. And I look at Juice, and not Juice, sorry, Jay White. And it's a tense situation. And I just wanted him to give me some acknowledgement that he knew that he fucked up. And that's it. Because, I don't know this guy, but I tend to feel like there's a lot of disrespect in modern professional wrestling towards old-timers. And I feel like there's a lot of folks that look at wrestling as being nothing to do with combat sports, having nothing to do with legitimate wrestling, and that it's all art or it's all worked and who cares, and screw kayfabe, and you don't actually have to know how to do anything for real, and that all these guys that think otherwise are just some sort of dinosaurs, and who cares, they're just haters, and screw those dudes. And so and to be honest, and I won't get into it too much, but I always felt like there was some potential attempt to torpedo me and JR from some external and internal sources. So I was always quite aware of some, not only what I felt as some disrespectful behavior, but some things where I feel like people were looking to get us out of the way to improve their position. And it's just a theory, and maybe I'm wrong, who knows. But in any case, JR gets annihilated, and I'm just thinking, what the hell, man? This is so pointless. And I wanted recognition that was a screw up, and I didn't get it. And then he started shit talking me, and I'm like, that's it. I can't deal with it. And so when I went out there, it was I did intend to make an example out of him, but it was also about not being reckless, about not just doing anything for your own benefit at the possible deficit of others, which what happened with JR. He's a 60-some-year-old man. He doesn't need to be smashed with a table and knocked down into the concrete and hit his head on a steel railing. He didn't sign up for that. And if you wanted to somehow get him involved in that kind of way, then you should ask him. You should really ask him. And it wasn't the best of scenarios, but I was livid. And I just thought it was just so unnecessary, and nobody needed to get hurt. And I was mad at Uno for not being in control of what I felt of the match as the referee. And I just felt it was just so unnecessary. And, you know, and after the end of the show, they came up to us and apologized. And, you know, we lectured them, we let them have it. But our main point was just that just all you had to do was tell us. That was it. And we could have worked something out. And we could have made sure that you got whatever it was you were looking for. And, you know, we don't want to get in the way of you guys doing your thing. We don't. We only want to help it if we can. But if you don't include us, or if you treat us in an adversarial relationship, then, you know, there's not much we can do at all. And I explained that if they had annihilated the broadcast equipment, that was it. No more show. There's nothing that we could do for you. And, you know, that would be dumb too, without anybody getting hurt. And the Kidani, who I believe is the CEO, he apologized. Ghetto, Okada even though it didn't have anything to do with him, and even the current president, I forget his name off the top of my head, Harold, he also apologized. But, you know, it's also funny to see the difference, the reactions from the current professional wrestling crop of fan base and such versus the old school and the Japanese. And to the old school and the Japanese, what went down was like, well, you know, that's the kind of shit you're going to get if you do something dumb like that. And, you know, in the past, I'm not, you know, people like Inoki or Maeda or whoever, I mean, they would just light your ass up, especially in the back. You were getting an ass whooping for doing something dumb. And that's just the way it was. And so to the Japanese, the way they saw it was, you know, he screwed up. Those two kids screwed up in their eyes. And that's the way it goes, man. You don't screw around with this stuff. But they also see it as a, you know, they come from that professional wrestling as a combat sport mentality still. And, you know, I just wanted to understand. I wanted to talk to them and also try to impart why it was so dangerous and reckless and how it could have been so avoided. And then what's funny is now that we talk about it at this point, my intention after that all went down was to never break kayfabe on it. I even told people, don't, because, you know, everybody's square. Jay's getting great heat from it. It made Juice look like an even bigger hero. I don't want to fuck that up. And the first time I do an interview, JR breaks the fourth wall, and I'm like, God damn it. You know, because as bad as things, you know, were in the heat of the moment, and, you know, JR got injured, and he, you know, he was able to heal up and everything, and, you know, two young wrestlers got a big stern talking to, and, you know, they had to you know, bow their heads and apologize. But ultimately, I felt like everybody, we were all understood, and no one was looking to crucify them for their mistake or anything like that. It was done. But now we had something that was at least positive that could be used for it. And I remember Takayama said to me one time, he goes, man, about this incident that happened in the ring, I'm watching. I go, dude, what the hell? And why did that happen? Why did this happen? He goes, you know, I don't really know. This is just an accident, I suppose. But he goes, Jumbo says if, you know, bad or good, if the audience likes it, it's good. So
good point.
My whole thought was just, let's use this, man. Let's make the most of this situation. And, yeah, but, you know, it's the modern era. Nobody likes to kayfabe anything, so here we are. But, you know, I didn't have any, after all was said and done, I had shots with Jay White and his girlfriend and wanted to sit down and get to know him as a person and show him that I'm not his enemy.